After the timeline and the mind map, what you really need to do is add a set of drawings to your sketchbook, which can be your initial drawings. Sets the scene and gets you going really on the whole project, but at the same time it doesn't have to be really deliberately thought out and thought through. It can be the kind of pre-thoughts of your projects, if you like. So it's the things that get you going, the initial impulses that make you jump in, make a start and have a go, but don't actually limit you and determine what you've got to do. So don't worry too much about whether your initial sketches add up or not. Once you've made your drawings, what you're doing is starting thinking about your project, and you're doing it in visual language. You're being critical visually because you're developing and thinking about things, but you also have to add some written analysis too, and that's really important. Okay, so normally we would say don't write on an image. We normally say that you should write around it or write something next to it. But on initial sketches, which aren't huge pieces of artwork, which aren't finished big statements, but are just sketches, it's really important to show that they're not important in their own right, but they are developmental steps. They're steps on a ladder that takes you up towards what you want to do. So what you need to do is write critical analysis and notes around them, on them, and so on. So let's have a look at some of those. Here you can see I've done a drawing of some still life objects, and I've written about bits of the drawing that work, bits that don't work, and all the problems I can see, or the things that I think I might want to exploit and develop further. So I've just written it in pencil around the drawing or through the drawing, and you can see where I said the background is reduced to large shapes and so on, and there's areas of tone, and that helps me make big simple shapes, abstracted shapes in the background, and move into the middle of the picture, which is more developed. And then you can see I've also comment on how I've used positive and negative marks by using a rubber over pencil work and then drawing over that again, and it just shows the moderator what I know. He can see, or she can see, that I've done the drawing. They can see what I've tried to do, and they can see the problems with it. They then want to find out, do I know what the problems are? Am I aware of what those issues are, or the possibilities? Have I seen the opportunities in front of me, and can I develop them? My written notes help me explain that and help me show that. They don't have to be super intuitive and intelligent notes. They're just thoughts about what I'm doing. Is it working well? Is it not working well? Really importantly, why is it working well? Why is it not working well? What can I do to say about those things? And if I can look at my drawing and I can see where it's worked well and where it hasn't worked well, that's really important. Now you might not be able to do that straight away, so a good idea is to do your drawings and leave them for a little bit and then look at them later, and even possibly look at them with another student or with your teacher or with someone else who knows about art, and see what bits don't work so well. You can see this line here in the middle doesn't work very well at all, and I've written some notes about that, and you can see that I just think about what's in front of me. I think about what's working, what isn't working, say why it isn't working and what I need to do, or what I've done to create effects and what I've done to achieve certain things. So to sum that bit up, we need to say that sketches are not important finished works. You can have lots of sketches down in your sketchbook, and you need to show the moderator when they look at your sketchbook that you've taken decisions, that you know what you're doing, and you've done it self-aware. You haven't just done things by hit and miss, luck and not so much luck. You've understood what you're trying to do, and you've made decisions and outcomes based on that. And you can do this at any point in your project. I'm doing it right at the start. I'm just getting a bunch of drawings that I've made on separate bits of A3 paper, and I'm putting them together, and I'm putting notes on them. And here we can see a whole sheet that I've done just on some arrangement of objects, and then we go in and see the details, what I've written up about them and what I've said. And you can pause this video and look at any of these if you want to look in detail about what I've said. I can make very simple observations. Just says this looks too top heavy, as the pot inside the bowl is too large. So that's a problem with that drawing. It doesn't really work, it doesn't really fit together. And even though I've measured and I've tried my best, you can see that I've still got a way to go, and I need to practice that, go back to that, or develop it in another drawing. So I've said that and I've made those points. That's just simple logic. You don't lose marks for pointing out criticisms. You don't lose marks for showing where you haven't got something right, you've tried but it hasn't worked out. Often when I speak to students they say, I did this really quickly, or I did this ages ago, or I wasn't really trying with this one. You know, don't be like that. Tell the truth. I tried to do my best. It didn't work out here because I'm aware of what the problem is. It is this, and I think the way to put it right would be like that. Say what you're going to do next. Say where this is leading you, and that's really important to getting marks and showing that you're getting your project underway. It will also have the added benefit of helping you orient and direct your project and develop it. So, adding notes are important. You've got to have some sketches that show how you develop your ideas, and you can do this at any point in the project, in the start, middle or the end, and you have these drawings which show a range of responses, and you then make out a set of variations about them. So you could start in one medium and then you could develop it into another one. You could have collage elements, you could have a series that goes from line drawing to tonal drawing to painting to full colour painting. You could do something that's quite small and then gets bigger and bigger, but you need to always show development and show that you're aware of what you're doing, you're thinking things through. Since I have all these parts of these all these different pages and pieces of paper, what I can do is after a while is I can stick them in my sketchbook to see what they look like. But let's just, before we go to that point, which is the end of this video, let's just reflect on what you need to say in your annotation, because I'm making some important points here. Try not to say things that are pointless and obvious, so don't describe something that the viewers can see for themselves. Don't say a picture of a teapot if they can see that it's a teapot. Try to say things that will help them understand what you're trying to do. Allow them to see what you understand. You know, this is working well because, this didn't work so well because, I'm having problems here because, you know, and I put there in bold, say why, it's really important. Alternatively, if you can see something that isn't going well, put that in, or if you can see something that is going well, put that in. It's very difficult when you've done a drawing to see just what's going on in it, so sometimes you need to go away from it for a couple of days, come back to it and look again, or get advice from somebody else. Those are things that could really help you. And you can see here I've got a more finished worked up drawing that comes later in the series, where the teapot at the centre is much more developed than it is around the edges. And I've still got my notes in there. I'm describing the techniques that I'm using, how I'm working, how I'm developing, and how I'm articulating the surface and the backgrounds between my different items. Right, so now how do I get those sketches into my sketchbook? Well, I can do them in a number of different ways. I could tie them in as inserts. If I've got them in a sketchbook, I could glue the whole sketchbook in. I could cut pages out of a smaller sketchbook and stick it into my bigger one. And this instance here, I decided to fold the pages in, so we get a kind of page with them all overlapping, and you can lift them up and see inside what they look like as individual pages. So you can stick your drawings into your sketchbook in any way that you see fit that makes it really clear these are initial sketches that help you develop your ideas. You can add annotations to them that are critical, that are evaluative, that show that you understand what's going on, and you can use them to kickstart your project. And that is why it's a really good idea to have initial drawing at the start of your project.